I'm sorry, we had a little technical difficulty. Well, thank you for understanding. We're back.
Okay, so as I was saying, that the main thing we need to do is not only stop credit buying, but we're to eliminate the debt. If we don't eliminate our debt by paying more than just the amount that they charge, like you need to do, let's say for example, if whatever you owe, if you were to do 5% of your amount that you owe, let's say if you owe $10,000, then you need to probably pay like 5% of that would be $500 a month. Theoretically, you'll get that finished in 20 months. So we need to work a plan, figure out how to do it, and get our debts paid off. Otherwise, it's like living on a credit treadmill, which puts tremendous pressure on a marriage. Marriages are hard to make last these days anyway, unless you have a good, solid understanding between yourselves, Christ-walking, Holy Spirit-filled life. You're going to run into problems, and adding a financial burden to it is going to obviously help make it worse. So the family needs to realize that when you can eliminate debt, the more you eliminate this bondage, then you're able to then spend time to enjoy things that you want to, like maybe an occasional weekend getaway, those type of things. The family that uses credit suffers spiritual loss also. Families miss the joy of seeing God work in miraculous ways and it answers the prayer. See, if you're praying to God, oh God, help us in our finances this week, we've got to pay our house bill, but then you just robbed them for the past 6 months, that's not going to work. Some verses here I want to put out to you is, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man, and he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. So if you have to go out on the weekend to do your boating, you don't have the money to do it, but then you finance your bass boat, and then you needed a bigger truck to haul it and pull it out of the boat ramp, and all these things. If that's a means of pleasure, or you go to the Clemson game, or every week, and that type of thing, that's hundreds and thousands of dollars added up every year. So if you love those type of things, you're going to be a poor man. And he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. So if you love to drink wine and go out and social drink and this type of thing, you're going to spend up all your money, and you're going to come back broke, and then you're going to get in arguments with your wife, or maybe come home as a drunken wife and get in arguments with your husband over money. So these are things that we need to see, that even though you quit your credit buying, if you have these still bad habits, you could be freeing up some money as you're eliminating debt, but then if you're just turning that over into pleasures and wine and all that stuff, drinking, then you're not going to be able to get ahead. You're going to wind up having a mishap that you don't see. Maybe you get sick, and then you're out of work a few weeks. Then your surplus of money is gone. So we need to see that you don't need to buy things that's on consumable end, like clothes, as we talked about. You need to do belt tightening for things that are essentials, like children's books for school, like homeschool. Order your books from Pensacola, Becca books, and homeschool your kids. Those type of things. Things that are important, not frivolous things. Christians who have committed themselves to eliminating all debt can actually have exciting testimonies about what God has done for them and working them out of debt, and have a testimony as hopefully we can convey some personal experiences as well as what the Bible says to encourage some of you out there who probably are hanging over a cliff financially and don't know what to do. Many people right now are so depressed because of the current economic troubles and stuff that they are killing themselves. Probably more people. It'd be nice to see the statistics, but there's probably a lot of people that are dying due to self-inflicted wounds than this Chinese virus.
Try tithing. It really does work. We've had a lot of people through the years, customers of ours, give us things that we needed, or wanted. One of those things was a nice wooden sturdy swing set for our daughter when she was younger. And we have some customers that go deer hunting, and in our state you cannot sell venison meat, so we pay for the processing fee, but that has also saved us a lot of money through the years, and a healthy and lean way to eat as well. And too many other blessings to name them all, tips people have given us to go out to eat or just to say thank you. So anyway, you can't outgive God and the joy and peace to know that you're part of God's ongoing work, and you're helping to keep your local church open. You're also helping to in worldwide missions to help people in all kinds of precarious situations, as well as to allow them to have the Word of God and gospel tracts that help people to get saved.
Yeah, it's just that, like there's a scripture verse that says, "He that giveth to the poor lendeth to the Lord." So think of it that way. You instead of being, when you get your debts eliminated, stop buying on credit, and you cut your debts expenses, then you actually then become a lender to God. Can you imagine that? That seems kind of like, how's that? But that's what God says. If you give to the poor, then you're lending to the Lord. He will pay you back, in other words. So these are things, too, in this section where it talks about cutting expenses. We need to eliminate debt, stop buying credit-based purchases, eliminate that debt that you've already done, and then cut expenses, which if you cut your expenses, you can save upwards of 20% on even higher. It depends on where you buy stuff at. But if you go to like Publix and Bilo, Ingles, all these places like that, and you buy your groceries, you're going to be paying full retail price. But some of these things that you can eliminate your expenses would be like go to a store that sells just out-of-date products. Like in Greenville, we got Bargains Food Store. There's Save-A-Lot. Various ones around. You can find them, look them up. And if it's not too much beneath you, you could go to a food bank maybe once a month. Just maybe get something that you need. Anything like that to cut it out. Now don't eliminate your debt or cut your expenses and then save that money there and put it into buying a new Xbox or now I got money to get cable. Those are things that are a waste of money too. You need to evaluate, burn your expenses down to the ground, just scorch it and say, here's what my expenses are. Here's what's essential, and here's what's unessential, or non-essential. And just the things that are non-essential. Hey, you can live without Charter or AT&T or any of these other things like that. And you could probably just live without 4 or 5 cell phones in your house. All your kids got cell phones like that. You need to take those away from them and realize that you're going to do them more good than by having them not have it. A, they're not going to be talking to predators, and B, you're saving $20 to $40 a month on the family plan and all that stuff. And you really don't need a cell phone, except for maybe on emergency cases, if you're on the road or whatever. So those are some cutting expenses ideas. The other thing too is John Server brings out, you need to completely eliminate cigarettes. You say, well, I don't smoke. That's good. But those who smoke, you're not only paying that poverty tax, I forget what they call sin tax, SIN tax, on cigarettes and alcohol and that type of thing, but also the effects on it. You're going to have a shortened life. Cigarette's going to give you cancer of the throat or the lungs. Alcohol is going to give you cirrhosis of the liver, and then it's going to create, the alcohol, like I mentioned, is going to create relationship issues, fights. You read the papers, see online that nearly everybody who's involved with a crime has some kind of a drug in their system. And that's what alcohol is a drug. Also, soft drinks, eliminate that from it. Some of the stuff's got this jacked up on caffeine so much that, like when our daughter was little, we didn't know anything better. We was newly parents, newlyweds. And so she would be like 3 or 4, and, we didn't think anything about, she was like wanting a soda. And so we'd let her have a can of Coke or whatnot, and she'd drink it, and we wondered, why is he bouncing all over the wall? Well, if your kids have caffeine in them, A, they got the caffeine, and B, the sugar, they're going to be having more energy than you can chase after them. So you can eliminate the soft drinks. That's going to be a savings in your expenses. Just think of if you spend $4 a week. Now you got like some 2-liter Cokes, maybe, I don't know how much it costs now, we don't buy them. Maybe if you got 2 bottles and it costs $4 a week, you say, well, that's not too bad. Maybe multiply it by 52, that's over $200 a year. If you got $200 a year to blow, you can send us the money on our Venmo, and we appreciate that.
Furthermore, the sugar and caffeine is not good for children, especially when their bodies are developing, their bones are growing. They need more like whole foods, like foods that are full of good nutrients, besides the fact that it's a big waste of money. And I just saw a headline today on the news that this adorable little 4-year-old girl is in the 4th stage, which is the last stage of cancer, dying of cancer. And you think a 4-year-old, how? So I think there's some practical things that we as parents can do to try to prevent such tragedy.
Yeah, and even studies and law enforcement and so forth like that have seen a connection between the use of, in children, caffeine and sugary products and stuff like that. This account here, this law enforcement officers have seen similar discoveries in the cause and effect of sodas. The president of International Juvenile Officers Association, Lieutenant Frank Schaefer, said widespread consumption of junk foods by teenagers may be a factor in the growing juvenile crime rates, testifying he has witnessed drastic behavioral changes in 12 to 13-year-olds, and he said they lose control of themselves and go nearly out of their minds. Junk food, especially sodas, are harmful to kids, and the sugar is not good for them. And then there was a notice in the behavioral problems in this correctional institute in Virginia. It's called the Tidewater Detention Center. It says disciplinary problems fell 48% when the detention center eliminated sugar in the diet of the 278 juvenile inmates, and it showed this drastic reduction of disciplinary problems. Delinquents who developed consistently good behavior rose by 71% with at the same time, and the soft drinks and junk food snacks were replaced with fruit juice, fruit and nuts, and sweetened cereals were eliminated from the diet. So you add in the sweetness of the natural products like veggies, fruits, nuts, and the sugar was also eliminated for as like a sweetener, and honey and molasses was used. So you had the 71% increase of kids coming back to normal. Now I'd say that if you can get their minds thinking more coherently, and then give them right Bible doctrine, having Bible devotions daily, take them to church 3 times a week, every time the door's open, taking away their cell phones, that way they're not undoing what they just were taught. You'll see drastic changes in your kids and in your cutting of expenses.
Quick point about the soda. An older man told me, this is a well-documented fact, that Coca-Cola used to put a little bit of cocaine in their soft drink, and I'm not sure what chemicals or drugs or whatever that these different companies might still be putting in the soft drinks, but I know that I myself had to quit drinking the soda drink several years ago due to sharp pains going up and down my spine. So that was a little warning sign right there to me personally.
Yeah, so along with those items there mentioned, cutting expenses, he further says that packaged snacks, junk foods, and candies, you remove that from the family's budget, and replacing it with nutrition, nutritious foods, then that'll aid health, as well as the ability to have a child that can sit. Okay, let's all sit together and eat. At the table. How many times have you sat at your table and ate with your family? But if you do that, then that could save a family as much as, now this was written in 1983 and published in 1984, so you can figure that was 30 plus years ago. The rate of inflation's gone up way since then, but he said back then that would save you about $100 to $250 a month in family, quote, food budget. So that's pretty significant. So if you want to have, let's say it was $200, that would save you times 52, that would be $10,000 a year. Wow. Just eliminate the sugar and all that stuff. Also, a way to eliminate expenses or cut expenses in your grocery costs and so forth is to eliminate, or once the unnecessary foods are eliminated, then you can buy and prepare foods that are essential and buy them when they're on sale. If you go like on Wednesday at the grocery store and you buy meats, well, you're going to get the fresh meat put out, but you're going to get the high price. So what they do is they set the price, set the products out towards the end of the cycle of the week. And what's not been sold, they put it on sale like typically on Tuesdays. And so they may mark something down from like $1.99 a pound to $1 a pound, or whatever the amount is. So buy up then, you can actually buy twice the amount. So if you wanted to buy X amount of stuff, buy it on like Tuesday, you can buy twice as much, put it in the freezer. In case you need a freezer, you can call Whiter Than Snow Appliances and buy one from us. But if you need a savings, look at it like that. Or you can just buy the amount that you only need and then really realize the savings. Then also take your meals and make using rice and beans and stuff like that, which is cheap. But then also you can look at, you could buy those things inexpensively, such as like if you buy when they have coupons out. Certain, I don't know if they do it so much now. We used to take the paper years ago, but we don't do that anymore. Don't want to support fake news. But see, if you can get a coupon, or sometimes you can sign up with the email, like we mentioned about, we signed up for Big Lots, so every 3 to 4 months they send out a coupon in the email saying, hey, you get 20% off, come in on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you want to like spend, let's say you spend $1,000 there, which I don't think you'd be able to quite do, but you'd save $200. So look at it like that. Buy smart, and then you can cut your debts, cut your expenses. So if you stockpile on specials like on rice and beans, stuff like that, then you can actually take your rice, buy you some veggies. I had a customer tell me this the other day that he has a website that he does, and he told me he spends only like $50 a month on groceries. And what he does, he has this big bag of rice, and then he says, then I buy shrimp. Buy a big pack of shrimp, and then I have some veggies. He has all that stuff in the storage, in his refrigerator and so forth, and seasoning. So then he can mix, rice with the stir fry, or he can have shrimp and some noodles with scampi, and it's stuff like that. You buy smart, think right, and you think, okay, I want to have a meal like they serve at the restaurant. Well, you can do it yourself for pennies. So you can save 25 to 40% more on your savings over your expenses if you cook at home, especially if you were to eat out. Then you're being the cook. You're paying yourself. Why should you pay somebody else to cook, and then somebody else to come by and wipe your table down, somebody else to bring you water or sodas or whatever it is you're going to get, which you don't need. If you do eat out on a special occasion, just always order water and a lemon. That's what we do. It's free. So saves you, probably if you had like 4 people there, that'd save you like $8 right there. And you say, well, I'm too cheap to tip the waitress. Well, just order water and sacrifice a little bit there, and then especially don't drink alcohol, order that. But you just probably have to save up like $8 in drinking water and give her the $8 tip, or whatever it's going to be.
Dave Ramsey, who's a financial expert, says don't eat out unless you are debt-free or unless you are working at the restaurant. But we like Thai food, so I went to an Asian market and bought 2 types of curry, green curry and red curry, and I've had a lot of fun experimenting with that. And maybe you can make your food taste as good as your favorite restaurant, and you can even surprise yourself and your family and eat for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I can tell when she's cooking a stir-fry meal, because I'll come in and welcome to India, you know. So anyway, you can save yourself a lot of money. See, if you don't eat out, then that's gonna save you from, well, especially like the other day, there was some people in Washington D.C. that had the March for Trump, Stop the Steal rally, and this woman who was from Ukraine, and she was from Ukraine and lived in Israel for a while, so she's used to terrorist attacks and all like that. You know, it's kind of like a daily basis thing. But then she came to the United States 7 years ago and came to Washington D.C. and said she fell in love with the States, and so she liked it so much that she continued to stay here, and she drove down from Connecticut, but she got her U.S. citizenship 4 years ago, and she said here was, you know, after the rally we went out to eat, and I don't know, I guess it was either Antifa or Black Lives Matter came along, and they were calling her names and saying she was a racist and fascist and Nazis and all like that, and she said, I found that was interesting that, you know, I'm Jewish, how can I be a Nazi? Anyway, I said that to say this, you know, if you're out eating out and you're spending more money, your chance getting accosted either in the parking lot or at the table. They sit you outside at these outside dining areas because of, you know, social distancing. But somehow they don't social distance themselves. They get up in your face and all that stuff. So you might save your life. And also another way to save money is buy day-old bread. You know, to tell you the truth, I used to work in a bakery years ago. As we made snack foods, and so we'd make this stuff like a couple weeks ahead of time. And sometimes, see, we used to have a big walk-in freezer. I mean, it's like as big as a warehouse, and that's what it was. And so we'd produce the product, and we put a Julian code on it, which basically told the date that it was made, but nobody else knew what it meant. So we'd produce the stuff and put it in the freezer, and then companies would order it, and then they'd put their own label on it and so forth, and they'd put their expiration date on it. So if you buy, you know, like the bread's going to be expiring tomorrow, let's not get that, let's get the fresher. Well, to tell you the truth, it's made already about a week ago. So, and they put so much preservatives in it, it's going to last, you know, another 3 weeks. So, or you can buy it up in bulk. What I'm saying is, you buy day-old bread, then you're going to make a savings of some 50%. Buy 3 or 4 loaves of bread, put them in the freezer, and so forth. So these are all things that you can cut expenses without cutting out God and His monies that you owe Him. And the money that you do save and cutting your expenses, you plow that into your debt, pay it down. Shop around for car insurance. That's another thing. He didn't mention that, but I just did that the other day. I shopped around and got a better rate and saved like $1,000 a year. And so these are all things that you need to do. Sometimes insurance agents, they get comfortable in what they're making, and they think, well, I got this guy for life, but you have to shop around. There's also, you know, I mentioned about the buying of meats on sale. Also, look for, there's a place in Greenville on Sulphur Springs Road. It's called the vegetable stand out there. It's called
The tomato vine.
Oh yeah, tomato vine, which they sell kind of fresh veggies and stuff like that. But they have one table in there. It's called the ugly table, and they have stuff that's kind of the veggies that are kind of maybe gotten dropped, got a little bruise on the one side, or maybe the bananas are getting a little speckly looking or something like that. And so they call it the ugly table. Maybe the tomato's been bruised on the side or whatever, and you can actually get them for like 20% of what they normally cost, like maybe 80% off. So that's one thing he mentions in here, is you can go to the part where it says that this is marked down. It's called to right to sale for retail. So when these things prices, you can find them being dropped, and you can buy up and get them for maybe 1/10 or 1/5 of what they're actually worth retail. And if it is a little, you know, too much that you can not consume it in the same day, obviously, then just can it up. And some of you millennials out there probably thinking, canning, what's that? Well, that's where you get a big pressure canner, and you read the instructions so you don't blow yourself up. and then you can, and it preserves those things for years. In fact, we still got some spaghetti that Heather made back for Y2K. In fact, I opened one of them up about 3 years ago, even though it had been stored up for like 7 years, and it was pretty good. You know, it's still it's fresh. Even had a hamburger meat in there, I think, too. So do that, and then other ways of cutting expenses would be to, of course, mention about cooking meals from scratch. You know, you can do that. Don't buy these TV dinners. That's what we used to call them. I don't know what they call them nowadays. I guess just probably Weight Watchers or something like that. That's another thing. Don't go for that Weight Watcher stuff. Just cook you a meal, cut it in a fourth, and then take that and say, okay, this is for today. You just discipline yourself. I mean, you don't have to pay for all this high-priced stuff. Because I've been over processed too. The other thing too is, they didn't mention about this, but if you want to increase your health, not only eat fresh veggies and all like that, but buy some good vitamin supplements. You got to keep your immune system built up, especially in this day and hour where you might get sickness. But these are things that you need to do, and we buy ours online on All Star Health. I've shopped for years past, you know, seeing who's got the best price and like that, but they're the best ones. So All Star Health, I'm not getting a royalty for that or whatever, but just trying to help you out. So if you don't buy these other things like pre-cooked meals, you'll be ahead. And then also look at the prices. Sometimes you'll have Walmart had like a 48-ounce jar of peanut butter. It was like $2.26. I was like, wow, it's natural peanut butter. Then they had a smaller jar that actually costs more per ounce. So look at the ounce per price, and you can weigh it out like that. You know, like one time I bought you get a Duke's mayonnaise, which is pretty good. It's like 32-ounce size. It's typically like $3.50 or something like that. But they were all wiped out of it at Walmart, and they had one big jar like this. It was like a gallon size of Duke's mayonnaise. It was like $8 and something. And I thought, wow, that brings it down to like $2 a quart. So look for stuff like that, buy in bulk, and then just don't eat it 4 times as fast. You'll be wearing it. So do the clipping of coupons and stuff like that, eating at home. Don't eat out unless you're having some kind of celebration of victory that you did something great and cut down your expenses, eliminated a card or something like that, and then maybe you can go out and splurge. But refrain from window shopping. Just don't say, well, I'm depressed, let me go to the mall and look around, and then you find something you don't need, and then you buy it and put it on credit. Whoops, well, I really need that, I'm feeling bad. You go home and you get your bill in a month, and you're back to depressed even more. Might get mugged at the mall too. So these are all things you need to refrain from. Also, buying out of season. Things that buy ahead of season. Something's like summer clothes, mark down, buy them, wear them next year.
Todd had mentioned about how to save on car insurance a few minutes ago, and another way to save on car insurance is just to buy an older car like we do that has low miles, and then that way they will not charge you as much for the car insurance.
Yeah, and taxes too. Like in Greenville, if you have a car that's 15 years old, they don't charge you, but for car being based on $500 worth of value, which we had like a 15-year-old Lamborghini, the car is worth considered like $500, but I suggest you don't buy that unless you're out yet, and have a very good mechanic. So these are all things that we're trying to share with you to get you out of debt and be having a more joy-filled, Christ-centered, missionary sponsoring life. And with that, we'll finish up, and thanks for watching. God bless. Give us a thumbs up and like.